Recently, in a few days back, our department just received new units of photosynthesis machine. Yeah. So your class would be the first ever to get it for the demo. Yeah. So that's very fortunate for your group actually. Yeah. What about other group? Tumpang. So that's a very not only one, we got two actually. We got two units. Very super expensive machine, like a million. Yeah, million. State of the art machine, meaning that in the world, that's the most sophisticated photosynthesis machine. So I'm thinking, if according to your syllabus sequence, after seed lesson, it should be your photosynthesis. Remember your syllabus that I showed last week at the beginning? So I'm thinking to change the sequence, learning photosynthesis a bit at the end of the semester, so that can be coupled with your equipment demo. Apa sih? Get your notes? Please don't lose your note, okay? Have a folder or file, whatever that you receive from the class, keep it in the file. Okay, so I think we can make a. You want to wait? Somebody coming? Not coming? Any question from last week? What did you learn last week? AGR? Annual Grand Reunion. So, what are these things called? Growth analysis. Classic growth analysis. Classic means it's been around like 100 years now. Yeah. Okay. So, briefly, last week you have been introduced to the concept of physiology, which you should know by now is actually the study of how a living system functions, what mechanism does it have, in order to interact with its environment with one goal for the continuum of species. But in the context of agriculture, we want the crops to be able to function physiologically sound so that you may get your harvest, your produce to the best of capacity, to the best of quality. You're not going to get a beautiful abundance in fruits, flowers, or high cereal yield if the crop physiology is not that great. In order to ensure that your crop physiology is doing fine, you need to understand what is the requirement to make that happen, and is there anything that you can do to manipulate to make it better. Like now, it's you're having this heat wave, right?
Yes.
Yeah, is that great for the plants?
No, not really.
Why not? Is heat good for the plant or not?
Some plant.
Some plant. What plant? Some cacti. Why heat good for cacti? Is it good or is it tolerable? So you need to use the adjective in a decent manner now. This is why I highlighted in the first week. Being a good science student, you shouldn't be having this linear thinking. You know, when you have a linear thinking, that's pretty much school. Whatever presented in front of you, you just soaking up all the info, and then when the time comes, just vomit all out. Yeah, hoping to get the highest mark ever. Well, that's not really science. Science about inquisitive nature. It's not going to be linear. It's going to be dynamic, meaning actively changing. Okay, so we're going to continue to the lesson with seeds. Physiology. Okay. So the two subtopics that are going to be covered here is, of course, we're going to get introduced with the structure of the seed. Then we're going to move to learn about what is meant by seed dormancy and the things happening during the germination event. Okay. A quick recap from your botany lesson. All seeds come from flower. Is that correct? Can a seed come about without flower? Okay. Why can't seed just materialize and appear? Why the flowers needs to happen first in sequence? Yeah. So as you can see here, flower is actually the first reproduction part of a plant. So this is a flower. What you are interested with is what we call as gynecium, which is the female part of the flower, gynecium or pistil, and then the male part of the flower, andrecium. So these two parts, they, depending on the type of flowers, they can be right next to each other, or they can be present on the same plant but different locations, or they are on different plants altogether. Hence the concept of monoecious, dioecious, trioecious, and so on. But regardless of the floral arrangement or floral positioning, the concept of having flower is summarized as this. It starts with the pollination, meaning that the male parts of the flower, the andrecium, producing an pollen, the ball here, and then the pollen is going to land on a stigma. Stigma is belonging to the gynecium, which is the female part of the flower, and then the pollen tube is going to germinate out of this pollen grain, and this pollen tube actually contains sperm nuclei. Okay, and then the nuclei is going to travel all the way into the ovary in search of the egg nucleus. Okay, and then when that happens, the fertilization will take place, meaning that there's a fusion of the male and female gamete, and then only the embryo will start to develop. The moment this happens, the once was an ovary structure will start to turn into a new structure, no longer called ovary, but now it's called fruit. While the ovule, this small oval structure, now becoming the seeds. So, since you have learned about growth and development last week, the changing from ovule to seeds, ovary to fruit, is that growth or development? Why?
morph into different.
Yeah, it involves morphogenesis. Okay, it change itself into something else to have a new function. It's true that it's not changing location. The location is still there, but the morphology of it, the form of it is changing, and the function is also changing. Okay, right. Then you will get your mature seed, and this is what we're going to have a look today. So, what is the story of these seeds? In essence, having seeds is only for one purpose. That is for propagation. That is for the continuum of the species. That is the simple reason of having a seeds. So, but you might have some argument. What about plants that can grow vegetatively? Meaning that plants that you can cultivate not using seeds, just from the cuttings, stem cuttings, yeah, tuber, and so on. So if you look at here, we got two parents of the plant here, parent 1 and parent 2. Each parent will have a different set of genome. Okay, do you know genome? What's that? Genome is the genetic library of any organism. Okay, so you know that the genetic codes of life made up of DNA, right? So this combination of infinite number of DNA base pairing collectively for one organism or one species, we call it a genome. Meaning that if you take different cell in you, for example, you take your skin cell, you take your liver cell, you take your pancreas cell, neuron cell. If you put all of these cells next to each other, even though they are doing different jobs in your body now, but if you look at the genome, the genetic makeup of it, it's the same. It's the same. It's the same genetic makeup. What matters is what are being turned on, which genes are turned on, which genes are turned off. That's why the heart cell become the myocardiac cells, and the liver cells become the one that do the glycogen genesis, and the pancreas cells become the islet and beta Langerhans that produce insulin. So plants also the same, but depending on the individual, you can see that this parent 1 here, both got A, but the first parent, there's a dominant A. But the second parent got the both recessive genes for the A gene. What about the B genes? Is it the same? Okay, it's the same. What about C? What about D? It's the same. So there's a slight variation between the parents here. Maybe these parents, maybe they are both the same species. The Latin name, the scientific name of it is the same. But maybe one parent live in windy situation, one parent live right next to the river. So there's a slight variation there. When they exchange genetic material, fertilization and stuff, the resulting baby is going to have these new sets of genome that might look identical for the parent 1, but definitely not identical to parent 2. So what good does it do? So genetic diversity is very important to ensure that the plants are dynamic, can deal with any environmental situations, or maybe adaptations that is needed in a newly and maybe adverse condition, or maybe producing some kind of chemical to ward off parasite or pathogen. So this is highly needed. This is why in agriculture, when you're dealing with monoculture, one crop, for example, banana plantation. But in our country, not just in our country, actually, in any part of the world growing banana, the moment you have one disease, it's enough to obliterate the entire plantation. Yeah. Have you taken plant pathology? Yeah. Soon you're going to learn. One problem with banana is to have the disease called fusarium. So that's a root-based disease. The moment this fusarium infests one banana plant, it's just a matter of time before the rest of the plantation going to get fusarium as well. And is that treatable? Well, it's treatable maybe at an economic loss, right? However, if the plants have this genetic or genome diversity, that fusarium may be able to be fended off by the plant itself naturally without any human intervention. The plant might have slightly lower yield or a longer growth period, but the immune system is very good. So this is why we have seed banks, because we don't want our crops in plantation to be monotonous or to be too reliant on a small pool of gene. If anything happens, that's gonna devastate the entire industry. Okay, so that's why scientists, especially breeders, they are doing the crossing regularly so that new variety is released, and this new variety is more adaptable to the current situation compared to 5 or 10 years ago, right? So it is an ongoing process. There are many seeds, okay, even though not all plants producing seeds, but many interesting plants that actually producing seeds. We take the smallest and the largest now. So what's the smallest seed? Orchid. Orchid. The seeds actually look like dust. You thought it was a dust, no, it's actually seeds. It's very, very tiny. These are orchid seeds, okay? From this orchid, a type of dendrobium. Later on, when you are in your third year, you can take orchid culture as your elective. So these orchids are so small that they are able to be fit, million of them in a small vial, right? And then you compare with this cocodimer or double coconut. I think we got in Malaysia, but in a very few places. It's originated from an island group. It's called Seashells Island. That's very big, huge seed. This one a speck is one seed. This is also one seed. So why do plants need to have this diversification in terms of seed number? What's the advantage of having such a small seed? Yes, it can disperse by wind. So what's the advantage of having a seed larger than your head? What? As weapon? For what? What's the advantages? The advantage of having large seed like cocodimer here.
Others avoiding it,
Other what?
like animal cannot eat it.
True. Yeah. It's the shell of the seed is so hardened, it's not easy for the animal to, poking the way through. The seed is actually can be dispersed not by wind but by water. It can float on and about on the sea, After 7 years, eventually it lands on a deserted island, then it can grow there. Right? So, depending on the species goal, these will pretty much determine what the seeds are going to look like. Okay, and these are just some few example. The seeds from the common fruits and vegetables that you are familiar with are actually from all flowering plants. Okay, so there must be something about this, having these seeds that make them such a successful group, not only to ensure their own species continuum, but for us, for our benefit as well. Meaning that if the seeds are not easy to be propagated, are not easily to be transported, we wouldn't be able to take advantage of the plant species as well. For example, let's say that the seed super sticky, like some sticky balls. Do you think it's easy to handle? Right? Not going to be easy for you to use the seed to cultivate and then to bring from one places to another. So there's something about seeds that you can transport, you can keep it on shelf, and then you can treat it like a commodity, meaning that the seeds can be traded from nation to nation. Okay, so it serves various purpose. Okay, so talking about the um, seeds purpose, the purpose for the plants is for the propagation. The purpose of the seeds for us is so that we can have the genetic material so that we can grow more plants, and also because the plants will end up becoming our food. Not only food, depending, some seeds become plant that produce food, some become fuel, some become furniture, some become medicine. We need all of this. Okay, not everything can be manufactured chemically, artificially in the lab and factory. You still need to rely on the plants as a natural source. Okay, so that's the summary for the seeds. When you look at from the perspective of for the purpose of propagation, seeds protect the zygotes against the physical injury. So you have your seeds. Inside of your seed, you've got the zygote or embryo. Think of it like an egg, right? You got an egg. Inside of an egg, what do you have? The embryo part. What do you call it? Next to what? That's the yolk. Okay, so it's protected. Seeds, not only that it contains the embryo, but also the food reserved for the baby. Okay, because it has been detached from the mother plant, and the mom cannot go to the baby to feed it. So the baby needs to survive on its own by accessing this food reserve. And this food reserve can last, well, depending on the species, can last for a few days or maybe for a few years. Like in the case of the coco dimmer, that can last a very long time. Okay, 10 years, easy. What about orchid? That's very small. Can it last very long? Sure. Orchid seeds, it's very small, right? Do you think it's got a lot of food reserve? So the question, if it doesn't have a good food reserve, can it last very long compared to coco dimmer? No. What if one day you read a news article saying that people just found 2,000 years old orchid, and then they germinate and it's growing. It hasn't got a food reserve. How come it can last very long? So that's why in the seed physiology, you're going to learn about the seed dormancy as well. Okay, the embryo in the seed, it's true that it requires food, but the moment it is in the form of dormancy, meaning that it's sleeping, like a sleeping beauty, like not going to wake up until the prince come along, it's going to use super minimal nutrient reserve, super minimum. Okay, and that can last a very long time, but not indefinite, of course, until the environment is favorable for the embryo to continue with the development. Okay, right. So seeds also need for the to disperse itself, for the reasons that I've mentioned earlier. What if the seeds do not disperse? What do you think is gonna happen? Yes, going to happen over competition with themselves. What else? Actually, this is coming back to the immunity point. They're going to have a weak immunity because when they are within the same environment, there is no need for the plant to become so dynamic to adapt with a new condition. It's pretty much they are still in their comfort zone, not going anywhere, right? But the moment they travel, they end up even at a slightly different place. Maybe that place have a distinct dry period. Like in our country, we are tropical, right? But if we go to Thailand, that's called monsoon tropical. They have a distinct dry period. Sometime now, starting from February. Yeah. So this distinct dry period, they have banana. Do we have banana? Yeah. The same banana, but they're going to have the genome is going to be slightly different than us. Okay. But banana is very amazing actually. Did you know that you can grow banana in England? Banana that actually can grow in England. Do you believe that? Not in glass house, in the open space.
England is very good difference here.
Apparently, banana among tropical plant has this frost immunity for some reason. Yeah, not a makeup story. I actually work with the plants, and they're not going to produce any fruits, but the plant can stay vegetative for that period. Okay. What about mango? No, not gonna happen. Tropical plants stay in tropical region. It's just the specialty of banana. What's interesting about banana? If you remember from your botany lesson, banana plant. What is it? Okay, I can say the same for rice as well. Rice meristem is protected by sheath all the way in the middle in the concentric. Do you know the Guinness Book of Records? Guinness Book of Records, world records. Yeah, plants are on the records as well, and banana is on the record as well. For one thing, what's that? What's that? What's you? Since you have learned botany, what's unusual about it?
Fruits.
Fruits. What about it? Largest fruit. I think coconut is bigger than banana.
They are
What?
tender plant of trees.
What?
They are like tender plants, not trees.
Tender plant?
Like they don't have woody tissue.
Okay, they don't have woody tissue. So, what about it? Come on, think. They don't have woody tissue. So what do you call? Do you call banana tree or banana plant?
Plant.
Is it a tree?
Tree or plant?
Plant.
Because they can grow its branch.
Do you know the banana trunk?
Yeah.
That batang pisang? That's actually a pseudo stem. A pseudo stem. There's no any tree part in banana plant. Even though it is super hardened, that trunk is actually at one point was a part of a leaf, because banana plant have this two structure for a leaf. So you got your sheath, then you got your lamina. So this thing is actually for banana is quite big. As banana grows new leaf structure like this, the sheath is going to wrap one upon another in a concentric manner. So when this happens, it gets compressed and it's also fleshy. That's why you will have this a toughened structure that looks like a trunk. Yeah. And for the record that I was asking earlier, banana is actually the largest herb. The largest herb. Because herb is a non-woody plant, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So banana wins. And by the way, that banana fruit is actually a type of berry. I'm sure you know, you learn your botany, right? It is a berry. Oh, confused. Okay. Moving along. So, seeds, they are alive. When you go to supermarket, you look at the mung bean, the green bean seeds in the packing. Are they alive or are they dead? How do you know they're alive? What? It's too delicious. So delicious is alive.
Grow and back.
For banana for green bean or mung beans, if you soak overnight, if they grow into bean sprout or tauge, they're alive. And very often, never fail. Whoever do the soaking, it will always happen. Okay, to show that much of the seeds on the shelf, supermarket or grocery stores, there are actually sleeping seeds. Okay, they are viable because seeds respire, albeit slowly, even though super slow, meaning that while they are sleeping, they are still consuming oxygen, producing carbon dioxide and water vapor. Okay. However, the lifespan is finite, cannot be stored indefinitely because they are still a living. They can last for some species thousands of years. Okay, but that will come to an end. Okay, so the concept that you need to learn here is the viability and vigor. Viability means the seed, the moment it receives optimum condition for germination, it will start to germinate. Okay, so these seeds, just because they can germinate, doesn't mean that they're going to make it all the way into adulthood. That require another properties, which is vigor. Vigor means the germinated seeds are able to continue growing into seedling, into vegetative form of it, despite the changing of environment. Meaning that the seeds are vigorous, the seeds are able to cope with various environmental situation. If the seeds are not vigorous enough, when somehow there is a sudden change in environmental factor, the seedling is going to die. Okay, they were viable at first, but they pretty much dead eventually. So to determine viability, there are many tests that you can do. The easiest one is by soaking. You can use just a regular tap water or salt water. So usually when the seeds are viable, they are going to be denser and they're going to sink to the bottom of your solution. So those that are dead, they will be floating somehow in the water, right? So for tropical plants, seeds, unfortunately, we do not have seeds that can last very long. Okay, because in tropical condition like our country, we do not have a distinct cool period. Temperate country or four seasons countries, they have this cool period that enable the sleep to go into hibernation or dormancy. And that's why the seeds can last a very long time. Okay. Do you understand when I say temperate? What, what season? What does temperate mean? I think if you look at the dictionary, temperate can be used in various contexts. The original word for it, temper, it means moderate, not too much. Yeah. So meaning that you can call a place is temperate, it is having the warm time, but not too hot until scorching desert. Yeah. If it have the coolness, you can still live, but it's not going to be like Narnia kind of kingdom, right? It's not to the either extreme. So having this concept of seed longevity, scientists in the past have classified seeds based on the storage length. Okay, so that's why you have these two concepts: orthodox seeds and recalcitrant seed. Orthodox seeds means, and this classification by Roberts in 1973. Orthodox seeds mean that the seeds that can be dried down all the way to 5% moisture level, and the moment they are dried, they can be kept in the storage for a very long time. Okay, meaning that they are the orthodox means the traditional thinking of it. You dry it and then it can be kept for a very long time, right? Recalcitrant seeds, you can dry the seed, but they're not going to last very long. Okay, the viability is rather temporary, and you're going to see that much of the seeds from our tropical region is actually recalcitrant seed. Recalcitrant, another way to put it, is a stubborn. Stubborn why? Stubborn to stay for longer. Okay, they choose to die. Okay, another classification which is a bit earlier in 1908 by Ewart, it depends on the shelf life of the seed. Within 3 years, you call microbiotic, mesobiotic 3 to 15 years, and macrobiotics when you have a very, very long time. However, this is, I'm not going to say the obsolete, but this is kind of very subjective, because when you say that the seed's not exceeding 3 years, it still depends on the storage condition. Okay, the seed can have the ability to go beyond 5 years, but you don't provide a good storage condition, the seed is going to last maybe 1 month, right? So to use this classification of storage, you need a standardized storage condition. Okay, so most of the time we stick to these two. Okay, the three categories of seed storage behaviors. It could be orthodox, intermediate, or recalcitrant. Orthodox seeds are seeds usually like the cereals, rice, wheat, some bean and nuts and pulses. You can dry them and then keep them for very long time. Okay, and then you got intermediate seeds. Um, you can dry them down. However, the long-term storage may or may not be feasible, right? So this depends on the species. Okay, like the papaya and coffee bean and the macadamia nut. And then finally, you got the recalcitrant seeds, which like rambutan, mangoes, durian. You can't really have durian seeds for over 1 year. That's just not going to happen. Okay. So how long can seeds last? Actually,
The bar. Depends on the
depends. Let's say the orthodox seed. How what is the oldest seed do you think ever discovered?
2000.
2000. By article, I know around 2500 years ago, they are old. The sacred lotus seeds. They found it in a pond in a near temple in China. Yeah. So lotus, hehua, they found the seeds, and then they germinate, and they grow with all the ancient DNA in it. Yeah. And they kind of are keeping it very secret. Actually, they don't want to tell the world what exactly the DNA sequence of that plant. By experience, that's by articles. By experience, I found about 4,000 years old. So when I was a student, masa muda-muda dulu, long time ago, I was working with an archaeologist. So it's a growth facility in a university. I did my rice study. So this girl, she's an archaeologist. So one summer, she brought back a collection of seeds from I think Israel. So from the ruins of civilization, okay, including pharaohs and that kind of stuff. So these seeds, they actually have the carbon dating in addition to the manuscript, like the hieroglyph and stuff on the wall. So when they look at the record, it's actually 4,000 years old. So this girl, using the same facility as mine, grow these seeds, and she managed to grow a number of plants like wheat, dates, and some kind of random desert plant. And it's been 4,000 years, right? So how come it's still okay? Like the hehua, the lotus, that's 2,500 years old. These Israel seeds, 4,000 years old. How come? How can they can still survive? The seeds actually somehow protected from the number one oxidizing agent. What's that? Oxygen. So the lotus seeds is actually in the mud, and the mud is actually being protected by this encasing mud ball. So the seeds are actually protected from all this oxygen. Yeah. And in the case of the cereal seeds from the ancient civilization, it's actually in the pottery, in the clay, also protected from the oxygen. So they can last very long time. It's very, very cool actually. So, are they viable and vigor? Well, you need, of course, it's been a very long time. Of course, you need to give a little help to the seeds. Okay. However, I know that many scientists kind of destroyed the plant afterwards because the seeds might have some kind of ancient bacteria to it. If it get released, you all turn into zombie. Right. It's just not safe for humanity. That's why you need to learn to protect the environment. We don't want our planet to get heated up too much. You know, when it gets heated up too much because of the warming, global climate change and everything, the ice blobs in the North Pole, in the South Pole, they are melting away. When they melt, if they're melting alone, that's fine. They are melting and releasing. They are releasing ancient gases. They are releasing whatever in the permaculture under the frost. And these are some very, very unusual bacteria. Okay. Even the sequence are not like what we have in our modern time. Okay. Could be detrimental, could be nothing to worry about, but why taking the chance, right? Okay, coming back to seeds. So this is the general features of a seed. So you have your seeds cross section here, embryo. That's the baby part of the seed. This is the one that's going to give rise to the plant. And then you got the food reserve. Okay, this yellow part here. And also the seed coat. This is the jacket that protect the seeds from the environmental aggressors. Seed coat, I think, what's the name for it? Testa. 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 Yep. So I do suggest you to keep on drawing this because at your level now, you need to be able to know what's the component inside the seed. Right, two types of seeds, dicotyledonous and I cannot pronounce this correctly, monocotyledonous. That's why these scientists, they just simply call it dicot or monocot. Yeah, they wanted to sound fancy and above average, then they regret. Let's just call it dicot and monocot. So what's that actually? So from the base word is cotyledon, the cot, referring to the cotyledon, is actually the baby leaf. Okay. In the seed, when you do the cross section, when the seeds have two cotyledons like this, you call it dicots. If it's only have one, you call it monocot. So cereal like corn and rice, you have this monocot seeds, while for the beans, coffee beans, rambutan, you have these dicot seeds. Okay? Yeah. So what's the wisdom of having this arrangement? You'll see in a bit. Oh, by the way, do you know what angiosperm is? Flowering. Flower plant, higher plant. Okay. Oh, I kind of noticed this color is not so great. So in your Google space, I just give you a clearer picture. So you can see that the cotyledon is actually of different color than the rest of the region. Right. So monocot and dicot. You learn this in school. Monocot is actually associated with, parallel vein leaf, vascular bundle scattered, and floral structure in the multiples of 3, like orchids, for example. What flower is this? Iris. Okay. And dicot, that's associated with the rest of it. Okay. Broadleaf. Okay. Netted venation. And then vascular bundles in ring in concentric circles, while the floral parts in the multiple 4 or 5. Okay. Like hibiscus, for example. Right. And you have these two systems here. So the top here is the monocot seeds. Down here is the dicot seeds. So let's go one by one. So endosperm is the food reserve. Cotyledon is the baby seed. Actually, cotyledon is also a type of food reserve. Okay, so you will look in a bit. There's a concept of endospermous seed and non-endospermous seeds. Okay, because you can see that for the cross section of a dicot seed, do you see any endosperm? There's no endosperm. Actually, there is, but very, very minor. So, where does the plant store up all the food reserve? It's actually in this region here. This beige region here, in the cotyledons. Right? Yeah. So, coming back to the monocot, and then you got your epicotyl, hypocotyl, radicle, and seed coat. This epicotyl and hypocotyl is actually referring to the axis of the cotyledon. So let's say that this is your cotyledon. When the structure is above it, you call it epicotyl. When the structure is down below it, we call it hypocotyl. Hypo means down, epi means on the edge or above. Yeah. And the example here is the corn. Okay, you can see that as the corn is growing, you will have your epicotyl coming out, protruding out of the soil, and also the cap of the plumule, which is the coleoptile. Okay, so another terminologies that you need to get along now is this thing, coleoptile versus there's a down here. Oh, it's not written here. So there's a 2 here. So you have plumule, you have radicle. This is going to give rise to leaf. This is going to give rise to what? Root. So each plumule and radicle have a protective cap. Okay, so protective cap for plumule is called coleoptile. For the radicle, there's also a protective cap. This is called coleorhiza. Yeah. I think this is okay. In the coming picture, you're going to see there's a structure missing here. Right. You got also epicotyl and hypocotyl for the dicot. However, for the dicot, as the seed germinating, they're going to lift up the cotyledon out of the plant. Okay, there's a name for this: epigel and hypogel germination. It's in the coming slide. Don't worry. So you're going to have a look which one is hypogel or epigel or hypogel germination, right? So which germination is more advantageous? Which one do you prefer? The bottom or the top? Bottom. Why? They have more energy. Why? They drink Red Bull.
They have two cotyledons, so they have more energy for the seed.
They have more food reserve. So the dicot plants usually end up becoming a bigger plant and long long lifespan kind of plants. Okay, because they started off as a high food reserve in the form of cotyledon. Okay, so furthermore, the strict structure. So remember, you got your seed coat, which is the seed jacket or testa, cotyledon, plumule, radicle, micropyle. So if you look at your seed, there is like a small opening there, it's micropyle, or the navel of a seed. You know navel? Your belly button. Right. Okay, here come the things that I mentioned earlier. When seeds do not have or does have endosperm. Endospermous and non-endospermous seeds. For the endospermous seed, which is this dicot or monocot? Dicot. It got to live here. And this is the monocot. Right. Okay. So for the endospermous seed, like this here, the corn seed here, it retains the endosperm tissue surrounded by a layer of living cell, which is important here, the aileron layer, this layer here, just surrounding the endosperm, the aileron layer here. There's a coming picture to show you better. So aileron layer contains many hydrolytic enzymes. You see, when seeds absorb water and ready to germinate, it needs to break down the food reserve so that the embryo can use. And this is the job of aileron layer. Aileron layer release a number of hydrolytic enzyme so that the complex sugar becoming simpler and the baby embryo can absorb and make use of it. For the non-endospermous seeds, the cotyledon become the food reserve. Okay, is there any endosperm? Yes, but very, very minor. Okay, most of the endosperm is actually in the form of cotyledon. So look at here, endospermous or non-endospermous? What's the evidence? Is there any endosperm? So endosperm is replaced by what? Cotyledon. The function is the same, the structure is different. Okay, is there any real advantages cotyledons versus endosperm? Is there any advantages of having either one or having both maybe? Endosperm, if it used up, it will disappear with the progression of the growth. Cotyledon, it will, the food reserve will be used. There's a lipid and protein in there, but it can come out and becoming a leaf. Yeah, you don't get endosperm becoming a leaf. Endosperm just left behind as a wind. Boom, suddenly disappear. Okay.
But it can boost the growth, right?
Yeah. Endosperm usually high in starch, like carbohydrate. Let me give you one example. Endosperm. Coconut water. Yeah, coconut water?
Yes.
Yeah, that's part of the endosperm.
What is water?
So, just because it's water doesn't mean that it hasn't got any fat in it. You're talking about coconut. What do you get out of a coconut? Okay, endospermous and non-endospermous again. So I want to show the aileron layer here. Yeah, that's the aileron layer here surrounding the seed, and it's pretty much not doing anything until upon seed water imbibition. water imbibition. Imbibition, meaning that the seed is absorbing the water and activate it. When it gets activated, this it's mentioned here. Hydrolytic enzyme break down this endosperm, and this endosperm got various kind of complex sugar. You got the starch, and some other nutritive substances and molecules to be used by the embryo, and this is your embryo here. So plumule plus root apical meristem, shoot apical meristem, all of this is your embryo. This is your baby. Yeah. In endosperm seed or in the monocot seed here, you will see that in many book or any reference material, cotyledon is not really labeled as cotyledon. It's actually labeled as scutellum. Scutellum is a Latin word, it means shield, because it looks like a shield. Shielding between the embryo here and the endosperm. Okay? Right. So, quick recap. Non-endospermous seed, endospermous seed. So, in a non-endospermous seed, you don't have endosperm, but you have cotyledons as the embryo food reserve. In the endospermous seed like this, you don't really have cotyledon actually, but rather you have a structure, dedicated structure called scutellum, which means a shield. Right. Oh yeah, it's already here. Tak baik dah aku. Tak definition kat bawah ni. Right. Okay, and you got, it's here. This is the coleoriza, the root cap. This thing. Coleoriza here, right? And the shoot apical meristem, and also you got the root apical meristem. What is meristem? Any idea what meristem is? Yeah, undifferentiated of what? Yeah, undifferentiated mass of cells. Yeah, meaning that it has got what we call as pluripotency. There is two, pluripotency and totipotency. Pluripotency meaning that the mass of cells can give rise to various organs. Totipotency means a mass of cells, undifferentiated, both undifferentiated cells, but these undifferentiated cells can give rise to the whole organism. Yeah. So when you have your zygote, your gamete, the fusion of your gamete, male and female, that's actually still undifferentiated. It will have pluripotency or totipotency. Yes, it can have totipotency. However, your bone marrow, also undifferentiated, just cells that is yet to be determined, the fate of it, it has got pluripotency. Because your bone marrow, it can become any type of blood cells. It can become red blood cell, your erythrocytes. It can become your white blood cell, leukocyte, basionophil, eosinophil, and so on. Right. When we talk about the apical meristem, this actually, you need to recall from your last week lesson, the apical meristem located in the shoot region above ground. Okay, so the shoot apical meristem can give rise to either stem, leaf, or floral structure. Okay, depending on the life stage of the plant. However, the root apical meristem pretty much doing one job, producing more roots, or in certain cases do the root modification, right? Remember, you learn in botany, roots can modify. An example? Tuber. Is that root or stem? So what's root? Can roots get modified? Okay. Taproot. Banyak ada contoh tu taproot. In the case of your carrot. Right, carrot. Okay. So please don't forget your botany lesson. Right. Okay. I put new slide, but actually the same lesson, just so that you can revise and looking at it from different perspective. Okay. So look at this. All of this is called as the embryonic axis. The plumule, the hypocotyl, the radicle. Don't worry too much, okay? Sometimes it's called plumula or radicular. Sometimes these writers, they get too Latin. They want to be, what's the word? A bit pedantic. You know pedantic? You know pedantic? You know pedantic? Kind of like grammar Nazi. They need to be correct, grammatically correct and everything, because all of this is sometimes it shows the gender of it. Or like in Arabic, when you want to show something is feminine, you end it with this. What's that? Huh? Apa? Tak lupa. Tak tahu. You should learn Arabic. Tamar buta. So that's why your Malay friends, when they have names, kan, the names must have the ending AH tu. Kan? You don't call Jamal jadi Jamilah. Jamil jadi Jamilah. What's another example? The male and female version of it, just by adding this AH. Amirah. Right. Yeah. So that's the reason behind it. So don't worry about it too much. Okay. Yeah. Okay. We'll take 5 before we go quickly to see dormancy. You want to rest to continue on Wednesday? Kau nak sambung lagi? Sambung lagi. Stay. Suka hati kau je, orang lain nak. Do you have class after this?
Yes.
Until 7?
Yes.
So, bila nak?
Around 6 and Wednesday until 5. And
What class until 7? Ladang. LPE is I can only feel sorry. I actually during my degree I didn't really take any English class pun. Okay je. I didn't go to any boarding school, didn't go to any international school, but my English is quite decent. Otherwise, I wouldn't get exempted from having IELTS. You know IELTS? Yeah. So if you want to study in England, you need to take IELTS. 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 Yeah. But after that, I did take IELTS because UPM required me, not the country, but UPM requirement. Kind of, I think I registered on Wednesday, and took the exam on Saturday. That's very risky. Actually, do not do that. Okay lah, dapat band apa 8.5 kot. Ooh. Long time ago. Alright.
Seeds they are protected from oxygen.
Yeah.
They can last for a very long time.
True.
But seeds it's actually living, so they need
Oh.
oxygen.
Well, if you got H2O,
Water,
what is H2O?
hydrogen and oxygen.
So there you got it. Because there is an enzyme in seeds that can break H2O into hydrogen and oxygen. It's called peroxidase. Yeah. So when the baby seeds require oxygen, this peroxidase get activated just a little bit to provide the oxygen. To keep the baby alive but not to awaken it. Okay. Actually, Kak Umarani should be teaching all these seeds. She's the seed technologist. Aku. Umarani lah. That's kau nak ikhlas ke? Pergilah. How's this side? Are you okay?
Yeah.
Happy?
Doctor, may I ask about the assignment that you assigned for us last week? The CGR, AGR tu kan?
Yeah.
The drums require weird.
So, negative result is result.
Oh, okay.
Weird or regular is very subjective. It's the way how you discuss your finding.
Individual assignment or group assignment?
I highly encourage you to do by individual, but submission by group.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Doctor,
Yeah.
you see the seed first spirit, right?
First spirit, seed tak berpeluh. Respire.
Respire and they produce H2O, right?
Yes.
Why do when we keep them in a jar or like a plastic bag, why they don't have like a condensation?
Because the respiration, the resulting H2O within the seed itself.
In the seed.
Yeah. And then it get recycled back. H2O released.
Or they don't release it into the
It-
surroundings.
If it's released in the surrounding, the H2O in the form of gaseous H2O. The H2O in the seed in the form of liquid. So it's part of the seed soup in the seed. Yeah, that's why you don't get the condensation on the back. Actually kan, I'm the one yang heavy sakit tekak. Sial aku, tak siapa simpati. Okay, we'll continue for another 50 minutes. Then we take a break. We continue on Wednesday. Okay. Okay, so seed dormancy. What do you understand by the word dormancy itself? Dormant, okay, not doormat. What is doormat? Do you have one day you have housemates? Then you'll know. It's quite not nice to call someone a doormat. You know doormat? So what do you think happens to that person when he or she has been labeled as a doormat? Dia macam kain buruk lah. Biar orang nak guna, lepas tu buang tepi. You like to do that to your friends, right? Habis apa dibuang tu? That's an idiom. That's an idiom for that, right? Okay, don't do that to your friends. That's not nice. Okay, seed dormancy. So seeds, the moment it has matured or the moment it is ready to detach from the mother plant, it can decide actually, and it's not like it can decide, it can by all the definition in the world to continue germinating because the environmental factors are favorable. Good lighting, good moisture, good temperature, there's abundance of love, everything cukup sufficiently, but it's just not germinating. It stays constant, nothing happening to it. Okay, so this is actually a mechanism that plants have employed to ensure that, number one, the species continuity doesn't stop, and the seeds only germinate when the environmental factors are really favorable or after it has reached in a new location. After the seed dispersal may be brought by the winds, by the water, by monkey, by you. Right. You can be a seed dispersal agent as well. Tak percaya? How? That's loitering. You don't eat rambutan and throw away the seeds. Okay. So why the seeds stays dormant? Dormant simply means it's kind of sleeping with minimum metabolic activity. Okay, it's alive. So kind of like hibernating. Okay. How and why is this happening? Number one is lack of oxygen. You see the seed tester, the seed jacket is actually waterproof. Waterproof, heat proof, so many kind of proofs. So this actually prevents the oxygen from getting in. Okay, what's the word? Hermetic. Is it the word hermetic? Can you check? Is that the correct spelling? Hermetic. You know, your chips that you buy from the supermarket, that some of the bags actually hermetic, meaning that it doesn't allow not only water to get in but also oxygen to get in. So it's called hermetic packaging. So Testa, the seed jacket, also have this property somehow, okay, to prevent all this gas to get in. And then it's dry, okay. So the seeds, even though it comes from a fruit, and of course fruit, sometimes it got so much flesh surrounding it, after it has been dried, the seeds actually can stay dormant for quite some time. Okay, and also inside the seeds, this is what you're going to learn. The physiology inside the seed, there is a presence of substance that inhibit germination, and this is actually a hormone. Okay, so you're going to learn that hormones actually got two functions depending on what it triggers. A class of hormones, it's called as the growth trigger. Okay, whenever it's around, growth related events will occur, elongating, dividing, and so on. Some second class of hormone is called as inhibitory hormones. Whenever it is around, you're going to get senescence, aging, halting in cell division and proliferation, and so on. So, in seeds, in general, when it's dormant, we are talking about two class of hormone. We talk about ABA, abscisic acid, and GA, gibberellic acid. So ABA is inhibitory. GA is growth stimulant. Dormant seeds always have higher amount of abscisic acid. Okay, so does it mean that it doesn't have gibberellic acid? It does have, but the ratio is higher. The ABA ratio is higher than GA. So when there is this specific hormonal balance this way, the seeds will stay dormant for quite some time. So how can the hormonal balance be changed? A number of ways. We're going to see. Yeah. Right. So you can also regard dormancy as a resting stage, because some seeds, they continue to develop after they have detached from the mother plants. Okay. Let me see. Let me give you one example, like the chicken egg. After the hen has laid the eggs, is it the next day the chicken come out from the egg? What happened to the egg? Yeah, the mommy will get broody and start to incubate this egg. This egg originally is just egg yolk and the white part, the albumin. But as the time progresses, this will start to change its form into the little chicken that you are familiar with. So this shows the same concept with the seed. The seed, the moment it's first formed, all the parts, the cotyledon or endosperm, might not really there just yet, but with the progression of time, it will develop. So while it's doing it, it requires the dormancy. It needs to rest so that it can develop, right? And also, dormancy is to protect the seeds, especially when it's in the temperate countries. Dry, cold, winter, insufficient food, and so on. Because if the seed suddenly germinate, when the condition is not favorable, it's just going to die. Really. Either it's too cold, or it's too hot, or it's even too windy. It's just not favorable for the seedlings to thrive in. So that's why seeds need to be dormant. Okay. So physiologically, what changes that lead to dormancy? Metabolism falls, okay, because there's a lack of oxygen there. Number of organelles per cells fall. Organelles such as chloroplast, mitochondria, they fall because they get broken down. They get broken down, and then the food will be remobilized to feed the sleeping embryo. Dehydration, water content also falls, and this is the key actually. Water is the trigger here. The moment water is reaching a threshold, the seed will awaken. So in order to keep the seeds sleeping, stay dormant for quite some time, just keep the water at the minimum. Not like a bone dry, just a minimum of it. Right? Vacuoles in cells also deflate. Okay, vacuoles still there, but pretty much empty. Food reserve become dense crystalline body. Okay, so the endosperm or the food reserve, rather than in the form of soup, they are in the form of crystal solid. Okay, meaning that they are not soluble, insoluble form of it. When it is insoluble form, can the embryo have access to it? Yeah, not having any access until water comes and rehydrate this crystalline body so that the baby embryo can eat on the food reserve. Right. So, how about breaking the dormancy? I say that the seeds have been sleeping for quite some time now. It's ready to germinate. However, it will not awaken until some of the conditions are fulfilled. Okay, let's see what are the conditions. Light. Okay, actually light depends. Okay, not all seeds require lights to germinate. In fact, there are seeds that require partial darkness. Okay, red far red ratio, that is correct, then only it will start to germinate. Right, day and night fluctuating temperature. There's a big difference during day and night temperature. Chemicals such as nitrate in the soil or applied hormones, gibberelli, GA, and also fire. Ever watch a documentary making a story about burning forest? Why the jungle, the forest is burning? Because what is throwing the cigarette butt into the bush? Is that why? um, I don't remember exactly when. There was some time ago. So it's a documentary telling about how the forest fire came about. It's actually not because somebody light the lighter or anything. Actually, it can just happen due to the natural wildlife activity. How do you think?
Because
How the fire come about?
because
Lightning.
the heat itself in, like, for example, the hot area.
If there is a lightning, there will be rain, right?
Yes.
So how the fire going to consume the whole forest if there's a raining?
If hot, the temperature
There is no water involved. Lava.
Too hot.
because it's
So,
going to heat up like suddenly area, so it will be too dry. And they are cause of
That's the key actually. Dry and hot. You know, some predatory birds like hawking eagles, besides rushing down to catch the prey and do its business, another way is they actually use pebbles, stone, to drop on their victims. Yeah, did you know that? Yeah, so that's one way. They actually use tools to kill the victim. Yeah. Sometimes, unfortunately, the stones not hitting the bunny, but the stone is hitting another boulders on the ground, and this actually producing spark. When the spark happen, it's dry, it's windy. What's gonna happen? And it's gonna set off the entire forest with fire. Yeah. Is it the eagle's fault now?
Kind of.
It's actually a part of the nature plan, because when the fire happens, it's actually clear out the forest so that the new growth can come about. Plus, fire is actually the only thing that can break the seed jacket of certain species. Okay, you see, when fire that you see, don't think it's 100 degree. Okay, like for example, this light here. You see this light, because it's been heated up by the electricity to a specific temperature until it glows. If you read on the label of this light, it's going to say, since it's white, it's going to say 7,000 K. That K is Kelvin. Okay, try to convert 7,000 Kelvin. What's it in Celsius? What's that in Celsius? 7,000 Kelvin. How much? Tanyalah Google. Hey Google.
76.5 degree Celsius.
Berapa?
This one 70.
7,000 Kelvin. What is in Celsius?
6,726.93.
So 6,000 degrees Celsius. Is it hot? It's hot actually. It can melt metal. So this is actually the light, the glow of the fire that is strong enough to break the seed jacket, the testa, and then when the fire has stopped, the rim come back, the water imbibition can happen, and then seed can awaken. So that's why fire is also a way to break the seed dormancy, right? So do you need to set the whole hutan negara to fight with fire? Right. Okay. So this is the summary of what I just said just now. So you got the seeds from the mother plant after ripening. The seeds can go straight to germinate. Okay. And usually this is the recalcitrant seeds. Mangoes, rambutan. But there are a number of seeds that decides to go dormant after they have dried up. Okay, so even though the condition is favorable, so they stay dormant here. However, when they want to get awakened, these things can happen: scarification, stratification, hot H2O, concentrated sulfuric acid. Scarification is when you scarify, nick on the seed. You know nick? Not nick your friend. You like you use the nail clipper to clip on the seeds. So when you do this, that actually allows the moisture to get into the seed. Scarification. You can also use sandpaper, rub against it. What else? Yeah, some angry squirrel can take the seed and nuts. They want to break it open. That's not happening, so they bang it against the rock. That breaks apart. Scarification as well. Yeah, right. So anything with that impart physical injury to the seed, that's scarification. Right. What else? Stratification. Stratification is the cold treatment undergo by the seed under wet condition. Okay? Wet, dry, with frost, snow, and this actually causing the seed structure to crack open, and then that can proceed with the water imbibition and so on. Exposure to white and red light, these are not all species, only certain species only. Seeds have cells. On the surface of the cells are equipped with various antennae. And these antennae are very sensitive to certain light, especially blue and red lights. Okay, these antennae are actually special type of proteins. We call it phytochrome. Phytochrome to detect the red light, and we have cryptochrome to detect blue. Cryptochrome, not cryptocurrency. So these phytochrome, cryptochromes, there are proteins studded on the surface of the cell. And they can only be activated with special or specific light wavelength. Blue light wavelength, red light wavelength, okay, depending on the species. Then it can awaken the seeds. Right, what else? Hot H2O, okay, not hot rain. Some area near the volcanic region, they got the steam coming out from the ground. What's that? Geyser, not glacier, geyser, not geisha, gay. I'm not sure how to spell it. Geyser, glacier, not glacier, geyser. So that steam really cause the seed to awaken. And also the acids, you can do this in the lab. The acid, sulfuric acids. This is actually a common practice for the to break dormancy in chili seeds. If you grow your chili, if you don't do this kind of stuff, you're going to take like 2-3 weeks. Then only it start to germinate. If you do this, 3 days, it will start to germinate. Super fast. Okay, and hormones and chemicals like applying GA, right? So when these all happen, the seed dormancy will be broken. When you apply gibberellic acid, what happens to ABA? Overwhelm. Yeah. Then what happened? For once, ABA is still there, but the sensitivity is diminishing. With the flooding of gibberellic acid, the cells of the seeds becoming less sensitive to ABA. When it's become less sensitive, it's not going to listen to ABA to stay dormant, sleeping anymore. You need to wake up, right? So that's one way. Another way is, I think that's a good one, is the desert area. The desert area, the moment it rains down, even though only for 1 day, a few hours, then suddenly next morning all green. That rain wash away the abscisic acid on the seed body. Yeah. So diluting ABA, rendering it insensitive by GA, all will cause the seeds to be awakened from its dormancy state. Right. And so this is the summary of it. So you got light, temperature, presence of tough seed coat, immature embryo, and also the presence of inhibitory chemical. I put this so that you can read on your own. Okay. All right. I think that's all for now. That's already 9:30. We can continue on Wednesday. All right. Okay. Any question? So far, so good. Any objection? No. Any regret? No. Any plan to drop? No. Final call. SMP is closing. Tengok, I'm actually promoting student to drop sebab malas nak tanda kertas banyak. Tak baik kan? Okay, if you haven't got any more questions, I'll see you again on Wednesday. We can start at 8:30, or do you want to start at 8? 8:30. Okay, I'll see you 8:30. All right. Welcome.